My name is Gabhann Dunne. I'm a painter from Kildare, but living in Dublin the last 20 years. I came to art, I originally tried to do nursing. I think like a lot of artists, I kind of felt embarrassed that I wasn't doing enough for the world. But then I went comfortably into painting, and it took me a long time to find what I wanted to do, which was to work with paint. And I trained myself in paint how to do a portrait or a still life or a landscape, so that I could, in my own paint, abandon that. And when you get very serious about paint, sometimes you become much more interested in gesture and emotion and how these actually inform a painting and make it a powerful thing in itself. The painting itself is mostly about environment. It's about my own feeling of kind of joy when I see a plant or a bird or a tree. But it's also about the environmental challenges that we are confronted with. And in the work, there's kind of a dissolving of time. So often the work is of the past and it's of the future and what may be. The way I choose work is somewhat eclectic. I mean, I'm informed by, it could be a 12th century Irish poem, or it could also be a podcast that brought focus on a particular plant or animal. And I kind of weave them in together. And the paint itself, though, when you're dealing with gesture and brushstroke, it actually edits out a lot of the stuff I put in. It doesn't allow for it, because then it becomes about the paint. Then it becomes about, does it feel right? Is it a work that has an emotional amber in it? Does it actually convey what I feel? And it becomes more about feeling than it does about content. So everything you see usually had far more visual information going into it. And then you're left with this object that is about paint and brushstroke, but also that little bit still about the narrative and subject that I want. I love paint. I should say it again, I love paint. But that doesn't mean it's easy. Paint is a very, very difficult medium. And if you're a serious painter, you will go into it knowing that you will never accomplish everything in it. So you are destined to a kind of a failure. And I was never very good at many things. And I had to work at paint, and I had to work my way up in what I could do and what I couldn't do. And every time you see a painting that I've done, I guarantee you there's 2 or 3 on the floor. And that's not even including the scraping back of it continually, because it has to work. And it's an unknown. It's almost an experience that can't be explained, because you know it's right, but you couldn't explain what the rightness was. And that's why the actual imagery, or the complexity of the imagery, becomes replaced by a complexity of color and brushstroke and gesture. And what you realize that in paint, there's something in human beings that responds to it. And it's a bit like when I contemplate something in the environment, like a tree on this campus, that I'm still looking at a painting in the same way. I'm transported, and that's what it can do. And you're continually trying to find other ways to express that. And paint will take anything that you can give, and it will ask for more. So I showed a piece that I've been working on in the Glucksman of Burren pines. And these are pines that were rediscovered in Ireland, the indigenous Scots pine. And I was asked afterwards by UCC to respond to the Arboretum here, which is amazing, and is in Cork City, this green oasis. And I was brought around by Jack Murphy, the head gardener, who told me the story or the history behind the various different trees, which was extraordinary. And also that they had disposed of artificial fertilizer and pesticides, and it was a green campus, and I was amazed by it. Just seeing these extraordinary trees, that some of them are top examples of their kind in the world, was amazing. And one of the things about a tree is that you can't really understand it. You think you know what a tree is, but you don't. A tree can have anything of 100,000 to upwards of 1 million leaves. There's no way you've taken those in. So it starts as an abstraction. And in some ways that lends itself to painting, because here is something that you've never really considered, you've never really known, and I can work with that with paint. But the opportunity to invite the contemplation of these extraordinary trees in UCC was something that was very exciting for me. So in the selection of the trees for the commission, I wandered around the campus a few times by myself. A couple of visits I came down, but I was also guided by Jack Murphy, the head gardener. And between the two of those, I chose trees that had significance both to UCC and also that I was attracted to for my own reasons. And it was the combination or the mixing of those two that led to the trees in the commission. If there was one thing I wanted the viewer to take away with them from the paintings, it would be to slow down, to contemplate your environment, to take in what surrounds you. And also that if you find yourself in Cork, come and visit the Arboretum and see these extraordinary sentinels that make this a very special and unique place and a real moment in a very urban environment.